Hello and welcome to my show, Nutrition for Health, Perfect Weight and Wellbeing on UK Health Radio, your global feel-good radio. I'm Dora Walsh and I've been working in the field of natural and functional medicine for over 15 years. I'm a qualified nutritionist and nutritional therapist, and I support my clients to overcome chronic health concerns like hormonal imbalances, weight gain, digestive problems, chronic fatigue, autoimmunity, skin concerns, and more. You can find out more about me on my website, nutriheal.net, and also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Well, this week, we're going to be speaking about the healing diet, how to implement a healing diet into your life. There's so many problems today in our health. So many people are overweight. They're suffering from chronic fatigue, inflammation, insomnia, skin problems, many different health issues, and they're not making that connection, what they're eating and how they're feeling and the trajectory of their health. Millions of people follow an unhealthy lifestyle and they attract these unwanted diseases, these illness, rapid aging, chronic malnutrition, obesity, and there needs to be a connection between their lifestyle and their well-being. It is being researched, but not enough seems to be known by people, and they're not really making that connection. If you really want to reclaim your vitality and your well-being, you have to learn about the nutritional and therapeutic protocols and embrace them. You need to change the way you're living, your lifestyle, and your life and your health depends on it. Well, this week, I've got two amazing practitioners and authors with me. I've got Dr. Brian Clement and Dr. Anna Maria Clement, co-founders of the Hippocrates Wellness Organization. And you can find out more about them on their website, hippocrateswellness.org. They run wellness, globally renowned wellness retreats in West Palm Beach. And these are frequented by Anthony Hopkins, Elle McPherson, Venus and Serena Williams, and also Rebel Wilson. So obviously very famous. I'm sure they get amazing results. But we're going to be talking about the healing diet, the title of their new book, and how you can implement that into your life, and all of the misconceptions around weight gain and health. Welcome to the show.
So nice to be with you.
Great to be with you. Great to be in England. You've written the book, The Healing Diet. You're also the co-founder of the Hippocrates Wellness Institute, and there's more information on that on your website, hippocrateswellness.org. And also people can find out more about the healing diet on Amazon. They can get it there. They can also get it in bookshops in the UK. But before we go on to talk about your book, a bit about your story and how you came to be experts in this field, helping people to regain their wellness and achieve the optimum weight.
Well, back in the summer of 1969, about 54 years ago, I found myself weighing 120 pounds more than I do now. And at that moment in history, there weren't too many people that had that many pounds on them. But as a young man, nobody ever told me I was fat. They always said I was big. So of course, how minds trick you, I equated that to strong until I met somebody who basically told it straight and said, you're going to die. You can't walk upstairs. It's difficult for you to do anything. Smoking fags, cigarettes on top of it didn't help me. And I made a rapid, permanent shift in my lifestyle. She was wisely able to guide me since she had reversed cancer on a plant-based diet some 40 years before that. So now we're talking about way back in the 1930s. And she guided me into that. It was a pioneering venture and also suggested that I work in this field, which I began in the early 1970s. It's been over half a century now for me. In 1975, I joined Hippocrates Institute team. We are now nearly 70 years old. We were the pioneers in lifestyle medicine. We created the self-care movement. And now Anna Marie and I are on a global mission for self-healing, because people are in a quandary now that we find ourselves desperately out of touch with health. And when we go to professionals, most of them, unfortunately, even many of the natural ones, are also desperately out of touch with health. And it's become a business more than it's become something important for a human being. So this mission that we're on is to tell people to take their lives back And when you do that, there's nothing you can't achieve.
My story, I think as a teenager, most of us are searching for truth and for heroes and people that you can actually follow. So I became plant-based, and I knew that I wanted to work in this field somehow with people that I could lead me and guide me. And they were all getting older. So I thought, well, right after high school, I better hurry up because they might not be here that long. And thank God they were. They lasted nearly 100 years, but their lifestyle was phenomenal. So I came to a clinic that had been for 30 years, helping people with all kinds of inflammatory problems. And we were also government supported. It was heyday for places like ours. Now there hardly are any. Now our institute, it's like a global attraction from people. We have had people from Kuwait, from Australia, to China. The institute attracts people from everywhere because there are so few. And there used to be a lot of places that could guide you. So we feel like we need to travel and we need to teach people that there are alternatives, because what we've seen, what we see every day, you think it's miracles, but it's just the body healing itself with tools that it needs, and lots of nourishment, lots of love, and lots of special treatments that we talk about.
It sounds like a wonderful story because you really lived through this yourself. You're living this life. You've had the experience. You've been taught by amazing elders in the industry. Dr. Brian, you've had your weight loss journey yourself, and you kind of changed your mindset around the weight because you weren't seeing it correctly. So you have a lot to share. It sounds like your story and what you've been through is the main reasoning behind your book, also wanting to share this message that you can take your life back and that you just need to learn about the tools and implement them in order to get a result and to be able to get your health back. Is that correct?
That's not only correct, but it's accurate for everyone. And I think it's time we put aside the nonsense and we start to realize if we have a weight problem, be it overweight or underweight. Remember, we always forget those who can't gain weight and don't have a healthy body. And so the reality is it has to be thought of rather than this is a period of time in my life. I'm going to work on that and focus on it. This is how I'm going to change my life so I don't have to focus on it in the future. You mentioned that we're a retreat. We're the opposite of a retreat. A retreat is where you run away from life and hide to rest from life. When you come to us, we teach you how to live life. We teach you how to go forward. And when you start to recognize that we're not only working with weight problems, the resulting effect weight problems. So Hippocrates Institute has been best known for people reversing catastrophic cancers, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and easier things like cardiovascular problems and diabetes. But all of these are together. You can't put them isolated in a vacuum. What's amazing to me, this is my 31st book I've written, 30 other books over the last half century, because Anna Marie and I combined have a century of experience. She's Swedish, so she brings a European flavor to it. And of course, I'm from New York in America. And what it's interesting to me is that I was sort of resistant to write about weight loss because I left that behind a long time ago until a doctor friend of mine just 5 years ago said, weight is the number one cause for people dying prematurely and being sick. And by the way, costing God knows how many billions of pounds for your government and governments all over the world.
So many people are overweight. It's a massive killer, as you say. And some people kind of shy to talk about it because many clinicians, they just want to get into the nitty-gritty of specific conditions. But weight loss can lead to so many health problems. So we have to tackle that and we need to look at the cause of it. So it's so good that you've actually written your book and that you are talking about it, because in a world where a lot of people are saying that big is good, fat is good, and because it's not cool to be looking like you want to lose weight and want to be slim. Really, there's a lot of misconceptions around that. So it's good to talk about really how you can be your healthiest weight. And really, by the sounds of it, that's to do with being in a healthy body. It's not just going on a crazy diet. It's actually eating the right foods and understanding why you're gaining weight, because there might be something underneath the weight gain.
Yes, you want a user-friendly body. Not friendly to use, you're going to abuse it more.
Yeah.
Now, you say the connection between lifestyle and wellness is still being misunderstood. What are the main myths that you hear people say with regard to weight issues that you'd like to dispel today?
That is genetic. Not too many decades ago, they came up with the pear shape and the apple shape and the banana shape. And so everyone just gets really comfortable. They settle into that. Now, everyone's body may be different, and whatever the flavor of this period in history is, and that's usually what the models are, the male and female models, you may not have a body that looks like that, but 100% of us are obligated to have a healthy body. And some people are short and some people are tall. But again, you need muscles, you don't need extra weight. For every ounce of extra weight you have on your body, which is called white fat, you actually increase the potential of cancers, heart disease, diabetes, other maladies. So what we have to understand is that food is a big, big part of this. And the human body was actually made to eat plant-based diets, not animal-based diets, and certainly not processed sugar. So when we eat the processed sugar the way we do, even in so-called health foods, our body goes cross-circuiting. And why it's so difficult to leave that behind is studies from the top Ivy League universities now tell us that it's 30 times more addictive than cocaine and heroin. So those of you listening out there that have struggled and try to leave it behind and you felt you were weak, it's not that you're weak. This is a very addictive substance. Number two, we have a social order that basically says, as you pointed out just 2 minutes ago, that so many people are overweight, so let's not be cruel to them. So let's make mannequins that look like Santa Claus. And I see this. Let's like exercise clothes. I was in the shop last Christmas buying for our relatives who were extra large, and I saw an extra large. I'm like, gosh, nobody is at that point where they need to be that big. And the fact of the matter is this not only impacts you and your family, because when you get a partner and you have children, then is this going to affect the family when you die an early death, or all of your money goes out of the till into the hospital, into your health, trying to stay alive. And ultimately, this impacts our society on a whole. But years ago, there was a riot almost when they started to charge exceptionally overweight people for 2 seats on airplanes. Another riot almost happened in America when the Bloomberg in New York started to put a tax on extra size sodas. You should see these sodas. It took 2 people to carry them. I'm all for this. We don't want to ever be cruel to anyone. I didn't want to have cruelty when I was overweight, and people didn't. I was sort of an enigma in that period. But today in this country, 70% of your children are overweight, obese, or morbidly obese, and about half your adult population is. So you can see on the horizon how bad this is going to be. About 15 years ago, the British Journal of Medicine reported that the childhood obesity comes from the amount of pop that you are encouraged to drink here as children. And when all of these things, you recognize that there's remedies, really simple remedies, but people are addicted, they're in patterns, and they're actually being supported in their march to demise.
And there's so much misconception about calories. People look for something, especially when they're on a yo-yo, going back and forth, eating and gaining weight, and then getting on some weight loss diet, is that you want to be on a low-calorie diet. Well, our diet is the best low-calorie diet, but super nourishing. What happens, most people go on a low-calorie diet that it has no nourishment, and they give up, and then they gain all the weight back. So having the miss of protein, for example, is that we don't get the essential amino acid. We get everything, essential fats. It's a diet that it's proven over and over again with our blood test, with our medical team looking at that, and never feeling that we have enough of protein. Calcium is super calcium rich diet.
So in this book, The Self-Healing Diet, we actually put about 30 of the most popular and well-researched diets in the world. and almost 100% of them are lacking micronutrients. Now let's talk about something nobody discusses. And this is what I tried to do in this, is that we point out things that have been disregarded that are probably central to why people don't lose weight. One is that you have a part of the brain that literally governs whether or not you're full. And when you're eating non-nutritive food, you could eat 30 pounds of food a day, but if it doesn't have nutrition in, that button doesn't shut off. So it says, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, because it's nutrients that literally feed that. And it's a hormone that actually makes that happen.
Yeah, it's a hormone called leptin. And the more stressed we are, the more cortisol we make and the less leptin we get. And leptin tells us when to stop.
And sleeping, by the way, makes it so that the cortisol levels, you don't sleep adequately, stay high. And again, the button doesn't go off. So it's saying hungry, 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 hungry. Cell phone are big shocker. International studies show that 67% of people are habitually addicted to cell phone use. You can't put it down. It's almost like narcotic for people. And because of that, we now recognize that people who are chronic cell phone users, which is most of the population, especially below 60, are 30% heavier than the rest of the population. So these are hidden things that shouldn't be hidden. And there are so many chemicals. They did a study a few years ago on the umbilical cords of children from every single country in the world, and they actually analyzed them. There wasn't one that did not have deadly chemicals in it. And when you have deadly chemicals entering your body when you're not even born, and then obviously being fed formula, which is riddled with deadly chemicals and sugar, and then foods that had pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, genetic modification, dyes, these chemicals give cross messages to the hormones in your brain and body and basically make everything a mess. So you don't know if you're hungry, not hungry, and not fulfilled. And needless to say, the emotional component, that's probably why I was fat. The emotional component is probably the biggest overriding all of this. So when you're lonely, you don't feel loved, when you're unhappy, when you don't like your job, when you're in a relationship that's not functioning, what do you go to? If you're not a druggie or if you're not an alcoholic, you go to food. So it's an accepted addiction that, by the way, leads to weight gain. And in fact, if you really loathe yourself, you can be anorexic and lose weight that way too.
And also we need to start making food at home. So many people eat food in restaurants, and a restaurant cannot please you without putting a lot of funny stuff in their food and things that you wouldn't do at home. And you probably would make more fresh salads, or you would take care in a different way. And I think we need to get back to making food at home.
The world-renowned chef Wolfgang Puck, about 20 years ago, they interviewed him and said, "What makes your food so attractive to people?" And he said, "Butter, salt, pepper."
That's very things.
Yeah, and I think cream and
cream and God knows what, sugar.
You've got so much to say, and you've given us already so many insights that people really need to grab hold of. Guys that are listening, you've got to read this book, The Self-Healing Diet, that's available on Amazon by Dr. Brian Clement and Dr. Anna Maria Clement. It's an amazing book. And you've only just touched the surface, first talking about the myths like genetics causing weight gain and all those other things like that. You need to have calories, that you need to have animal protein. This is really opening up people's eyes, because we've been led to believe that weight gain is caused by certain things. And also you've talked about some of the things that we need to be aware of, like what's going to drive their appetite, that lack of sleep, that high cortisol, the cell phone, the chemicals that are in our foods, those pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, and also the emotional component. There's so much that's in this book that people need to learn from. We're going to be talking a lot more about that after a few messages from our commercial partners.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health the station that makes you feel good.
You're listening to Dora Walsh on UK Health Radio on my show, Nutrition for Health, Perfect Weight and Wellbeing. I'm speaking to Dr. Brian Clement and Dr. Anna Maria Clement, co-founders of Hippocrates Wellness. You can find out more about them on their website, hippocrateswellness.org. And also check out their book, The Healing Diet, which we're talking about today. You can get that on Amazon. You can get that in bookshops as well if you're in the UK and around the world. And really, we've been talking about busting those myths about weight gain and the reasons for weight gain and what we should be eating, because you might not know that you don't have to just survive on animal protein, that you can go towards a plant-based diet, that we don't need to go on extreme low-calorie diets to lose weight. There's so many myths and that need to be dispelled, and that's why they're here today. We've talked about the myths. Let's talk about how your diet, because you are weight loss and wellness pioneers. Let's talk about exactly how your diet can help women lose weight, and particularly those who battled with weight loss in the past. What you think the three main hidden reasons are that women battle with fat gain?
Well, so every woman that has delivered a child knows that there is nothing better than nursing. So breastfeeding, that gets all that extra weight off that you put on during pregnancy. So that would be the first thing. What a lot of women have problem with is their thyroid. And thyroid usually gives us trouble either at puberty, pregnancy, or menopause. And we can't blame the thyroid because the thyroid is our master gland and it needed to be fed. It needed things like selenium and zinc. It needed iodine. And our culture in medicine now, it doesn't tell you that. So a lot of women suffer totally unnecessarily. Actually, when you're pregnant, you need double dose of selenium and iodine, but you usually are not told, and then you end up being on medication for the rest of your life. Because the thyroid regulates your metabolism, it's very important that we fed it right. So that would be one of the first things. I think psychology plays a big role at the Institute. Everybody has psychology section. It is a part of our program, and that changes people's attitude about food. Without that, it would be very, very hard because our diet is phenomenal. Our chefs are amazing. And the first week of people coming to the Institute, it's tough. It's a new diet. It's very fresh. And after a while, it grows on you literally, and you love it. You get more and more attracted to it. We exercise a lot. We do exercise at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. We have different exercises at 9. And then we have lectures. There's a lot of lectures at the Institute to teach you, to help you step by step. And then we have exercise in the afternoon. So people are moving. They get a habit of moving. That is amazing.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone unable to lose weight once they align their intent, their mind, and their body. It is a big, big change for people. Change is sort of a difficult thing for most of us in modern society. Ironically, it's the only inevitable thing. We used to say it's death and taxes. No, it's change. It's constant. It's consistent. You can't stop it, but none of us have been trained to do it. Matter of fact, we've been discouraged from doing it. So when you look at the chemical or biochemical reasoning behind why what we've done so successfully for nearly 70 years in helping tens of thousands of people lose unwanted weight. I mean, the heaviest I worked with was under 1,000 pounds, got him down to 300 pounds. I've worked with Olympians, and we've gotten them to be stronger, healthier, and win when they do that. And psychology has to be mixed, what we call psychoneuroimmunology, with high density nutrients. And going back to what we spoke about earlier, unless you have signaling going into the brain saying that you're satiated, that you have everything you need, brain is saying you're hungry, eat more, eat more, eat more. And we tend not to go for things that are nourishing. We tend to go to things that we're addicted to. So high fats and high sugars. And not all fats are bad. As a matter of fact, brown fat, you're born as a healthy baby with brown fat, is terrifically good, and you need that. that makes your brain, your body, and your energy work. But it's the white fat that we find around abdominal middles of men and women. We call them beer bellies in the past, but no, they're junk food bellies, even health food, junk food bellies at this point because of what we see. And when you start to recognize that the whole conversation is geared around making money from people to have a quick, short, easy way to lose a few pounds, where inevitably and always the data shows that these people gain the weight back within a year, and most often, over 60% of them gain additional weight. So this is what you're doing. You're in this yo-yo thing that Anna spoke about. These poor women that come to you went on some kind of a popular diet that doesn't work. Every one of them lack micronutrients. Every one of them doesn't shut the brain off and say, look, you're full, you don't need any more. They encourage the body to eat more, you to eat more.
It sounds like you're going very deep into understanding what the body systems and the hormonal system needs in order to feel satiated. That the cravings don't even become an issue anymore when the body is replete with nutrition. And I think that is a real surprise to people that are under kind of almost like being controlled by their cravings, and they feel that they can't get it in. It's almost like an addiction, as you say.
When I look back, when I ate, I would eat from the minute I got up to the minute I went into bed, and sometimes in bed. I would take cakes and ice cream, and that is an addiction. I mean, it's just not an illicit or an illegal addiction.
But I mean, we even see if, let's say that we were traveling and we didn't get our big salads of sprouts and everything, and we eat something cooked. It doesn't satisfy you. You're hungry. You want to eat something after you just ate.
This is where dessert became popular.
Yeah.
And then people on top of everything.
And bread, and lots of bread.
Yeah, ferment what they basically have consumed with the sugar that you find in the cake or the cookie or the pie, whatever you may be taking. And this is a very simple process that we've clinically, with our medical team, proven since 1956 works. And this whole fad thing, every 5 years there's a new diet and it becomes popular. The current flavor of the month, yesterday or 2 days ago, it was a Canadian heart associate from Vancouver, literally showed that the ketogenic diet doubled your chances of heart attacks and strokes. Well, of course it would, because you can't take all of the saturated animal fat and put it in your body. When we want to learn about something, we actually meet the founders. So we met them several years ago, and they said, by the way, you could do this diet perfectly well on a plant-based diet, and the fats could be from plants. You don't have to eat butter. You don't have to eat these things that are notably well-researched at Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, everywhere in the world. And we've seen it. People that come to us with diabetes, people that come to us with cancer, people that come to us with heart problems. These are the kind of diets they're on. They just were on name diets. They were called the British diet or the American diet before that. Why do we keep having to relearn things that we already know?
Yeah, I think people are always looking for the next thing rather than going to the grassroots of nourishing their body. And I think people have forgotten how to nourish themselves as we did in the past, as all of these junk foods have come to market and we become addicted to them. We think it's normal to eat a certain diet instead of really understanding what our body needs. And from a nutritional perspective, people are only thinking about taste and addiction. But hopefully by reading your diet, the healing diet available on Amazon, people will be able to learn a new way of living, a new way of eating, and to be able to reap those rewards in their weight and in their health and how they feel and their longevity. Now, I'd love to take a brief look at the 4 sections in the book about what people can do to help themselves relating to weight health. I know we talked a bit about it already, but I know you talk about mind strength, you talk about food choices, body tune-ups, and lifestyle rituals. Can we talk a bit about those things?
So let's start with mindset. I think there's nothing else we're discussing today more potent and more powerful than that. Every one of the programs that we run, everything from the fitness weight loss program to the cancer reversal program, we work with visualization. And I'll tell a story. A number of years ago, we had a woman come to us who was a lovely human being and very humorous. She could have been a professional comedian, and she weighed 425 pounds. So she was waddling, to say the least. And I hadn't seen her for 2 years, but we stayed in touch, as many of the guests do, with Anna Marie and I as the directors. I was on a lecture tour in her state and popped in to see her in 10 minutes. And I knocked on the door, and the sexy blonde, 120-pound woman shows up. And I said, "Is your mother here?" And she, humorous, so she went back in and came out again. She said, "I'm Nancy." I almost dropped dead. I dropped dead. 300 pounds later, she was there. And I went into her home, and it was a little eerie. And thank God I only had a few minutes, because it reminded me of a murder mystery. Because she had taken out of Elle magazine, all of the female popular periodicals, cut the bodies of women out of it, took her face, head, her picture, and put it on it, and had this picture all over her house. And I was backing up toward the door, because I've seen this in the movies before. And I said, "Why did you do that?" And she said, "You told me to do that in class." And I sort of flashed. And I remember saying, "You've got to visualize who you want to be and be uncompromising and reaching it." And she did it, and she achieved it. So the mind is unbelievably important.
Yeah. And we have a magazine that comes out 4 times a year. It's called Heal Our World. And you can find it under hippocrateswellness.org. And you can get it digital. Here is Christine. And Christine, in a few years, lost me. I'm 130 pounds. She lost 130 pounds. She is fantastic. And she had her story. She had traumas and surgeries, accidents. And of course, that's when a lot of people also need to recover, and they gain weight during that time.
And it's mindset. It's mindset. Number 2, foods. What we have to understand is that every creature, every species on Earth consume 100% raw diet. The exception are the domestic animals that we force to eat nonsense, and humans, Homo sapiens. So we know of about 8 million species. The natural biologists tell us there's probably 12. So 100% of them eat raw food. Hardly anyone eats raw food in our 8 billion population globally. And once you cook a food, pretty much the nutrition is gone. The proteins are dramatically disturbed. The vitamins are almost absent. The minerals may hold up if you don't cook it like my mother used to cook vegetables. And the 4 most important things are gone. And this is what I learned as a scientist. We're both PhD nutritional scientists and naturopathic doctors. That in the clinical research we've done on hundreds of thousands of people in our case, since 1975, what we've seen is that there's hormones in plants, raw plants. There's oxygen in raw plants. When you're cooking a food, the fragrance is the oxygen leaving it. The most important is phytonutrients. We talk about phenols in this book, reducing weight. This is a hardcore science on this one. And enzymes. We call it the new era of hope. Hormones, oxygen, phytochemical, and enzymes. And once you cook the food, these magical elements that make you lose weight, have strength, stay young, stay vital, and most important, stay sexy, go away.
Yeah, it's great, because I think some people think that they need to cook their food because they think they can extract more nutrition out of it. What about people that say that, like, for example, the lycopene in tomatoes or peppers?
Well, I debated the doctor out of Johns Hopkins. It was funny. They had me on the radio with her, and my friend said, "Don't get in there and start yelling right away. Let her sink." And so I did. For 15 minutes, I didn't say anything, and she was talking about how when you cook food, it manifests more of these lipenes and all. And finally, the interviewer, like you, sort of got annoyed with me and said, "Brian, do you have any input?" And I said, "Yes, I'm just so proud to be with the doctor that created a brand new science that I'd never heard about. Nobody I know heard about." I said, "In the past, we thought when you cook something, you destroy elements. You don't manifest something that wasn't there to begin with." So I said, "Doctor, would it be possible I come to Johns Hopkins and you can teach me the new science that you manifest things out of cooking?" And so this is the silliness you see from the quote scientific community. No, you don't create more. What happened, I said, is you probably open the cells by cooking it. Now you can count more phytochemicals, but you're not counting if they're bioactive and alive. You're just counting if they're there. And I said, dead bioactive are 2 different things.
I'm so glad you're on the show. I'm learning so much. I know as nutritionists, we need to learn our whole lives. So it's a real honor to talk to you and hear what you have to say. I really appreciate you explaining that to our audience. Now, So we talked about the food choices. What about body tune-ups and lifestyle rituals? I'd love to hear about that.
Well, I think rituals is that we plan a day, that we eat at the same time. We exercise at the same time. Our exercise is done in the morning, and that we do 3 days a week. We do with the weight training.
About 70% of people are morning people. 30% would be better in the evening.
Yeah. So you see them at the gym in the evening. That's when Brian and I want to take a nap or go to sleep. That is very important because most people today are just grabbing something and shoving it down and as if we're a garbage can. So we need just time to eat. It's very, very important. Our digestion, our mood when we're eating is one.
Now, one of the things people don't realize is aerobic is essential to lose weight and to stay healthy, or to circulate the blood, bring oxygen and stem cells to all of the organs to rebuild them. But how you lose weight quickest is weightlifting. 82% of muscle comes from fat. Now, what happened to me is I went from this very large, obese man to a very skinny man because I didn't exercise. And people think, well, if I don't eat much, I'll be too thin. Oh, you need to exercise. You need muscle weight, not fat weight. Remember, go back to what I said 20 minutes ago, where every ounce contributes to disease and aging. What we have to know is weightlifting should be part of it. Petite women like you and my wife, Anna Maria here, and many around the world are prime candidates for osteoporosis. Why? Because you're not carrying weight. The poor women who are overweight, they're prime candidates for heart attacks, strokes, and diabetes. One, if they're in the wrong position and not doing weightlifting, it's not a healthy thing. Aerobic is important in stretching. At 20, it's important, but by the time you're 40, the young age of 40, you better be stretching on a regular daily basis. The only two exercises that should be done on a 7-day-a-week cycle are abdominal exercises and stretching. And the other thing, there's a new study that just came out from, it was University of Illinois, back in November that showed after 2.5 years, they put thousands of women on one full avocado a day and they lost abdominal fat. Yeah. We used to think maybe you eat too much of that, it's not good. You won't lose weight. Now it's the inverse. Men, it didn't work. We don't know why. We assume it's hormones, but that study hasn't come in yet.
But it takes actually essential fatty acids, which are not the trans fats that I get from meat and the saturated fats. These are essential fatty acids, and we don't make them. We have to eat them every day, and avocados seem to be like super good in that study for women that wanted to lose weight. Now, we also have the other group who want to gain weight. And it's all the things that works for the one who wants to lose weight works for the one who wants to gain weight.
Right. Muscle.
Yes.
I mean, look at, we've been able to take very thin people, 100-pound people, and make them healthy women at 130 pounds who are 5'10". These poor models, they emaciate them. We've worked with many of them and made them healthy again. And by the way, to me and any healthy human being, they're more attractive when they have muscle. And when they look like anorexic, and what that does to human health is bizarre. And this is the image we give our little girls. You're supposed to look that way. Well, it's not a healthy way to look, and it's not a strong way to be either.
Yeah, it's a good message to put out there to show that women can be strong, they can have muscle, there's nothing wrong with that. And we need to learn how to build that muscle, as you mentioned, because it is protective for us. It keeps us strong, etc. It's good for our bones, also to carry our weight.
A book that Anna and I wrote back in 2020 is called Menopause. Mm-hmm. And 75% of who buys it and reads it are women to figure out who this guy is they're married to. In that book, we talked about studies that had come out in that period that were amazing. That when you have muscle throughout your life, your brain, your heart, and your libido works. And ironically, when you look at a person, when you look at a man that's muscular, or I look at a woman that's muscular, not overly muscular, they're very attractive to us. So it's sort of nature says that that's healthy, that you want to be with that person. They're going to have longevity. They're going to be there for you. These are primal ways that we feel, but on the other hand, they're programmed in genetically to us over God knows how many millennia. And so muscle is powerfully important, not only for bone structure, but for organ and brain, heart, and libido.
Every muscle in your body is connected to an organ. For example, if I do biceps and triceps exercise, I help my lungs and my heart. And it just goes on. That's why you feel good when you exercise.
You definitely do. Now, let's talk about the lifestyle rituals. I know you mentioned eating at a certain time, in a certain way, and we also talked about testing things to visualizing things. Are there any other lifestyle rituals that people should incorporate into their life to have a healthier body?
Well, we just spoke about exercise, but community. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that the longest living tribes in the world, centenarians and super centenarians, 110, all are very bound and bonded with people in their community. And there's now 5 major studies on long life, and every one of them, yes, they say plant-based diet and exercise have added that community aspect to it. There was one study out of Brigham Young University in Utah in the United States that showed people who are lonely throughout their entire life die an average of 15 years sooner. That's like smoking cigarettes. Yeah. Imagine if you smoke cigarettes and you're lonely. So these are things that are powerfully important. And when you're in a social setting, and I don't mean socializing, I mean being with people that you can trust, people that you actually can speak to and be open to, you're more likely to want to look good and feel good and participate at your best than a person who's hiding out in front of a computer all day long.
Yeah, they don't make as much effort. Now, we're going to talk a lot more about the healing diet by Dr. Brian Clement and Dr. Anna Maria Clement in a moment after a few messages from our commercial partners.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
You're listening to Dora Walsh on UK Health Radio on my weekly show, Nutrition for Health, Perfect Weight and Wellbeing. I'm speaking with Dr. Brian Clement and Dr. Maria Clement, authors of The Healing Diet, available on Amazon. It's an amazing book. And also co-founders of Hippocrates Wellness. And you can find out more about them on their website, hippocrateswellness.org. Now, we've had an amazing chat. And I'd like to just finish up by talking about a bit more about those 4 sections in your book. Maybe if you could tell me what the 2 main things are that women really must do. And to help themselves to lose weight. I know we talked about the thyroid. I know we talked about exercise, but is there anything else? Because women are always, well, I must say the ones that come to my clinic, as I mentioned to you before, there is this worry about weight gain and they always feel uncertain about it. But is there a closing message that you'd like to give our listeners today about it?
Well, so on books, Self-Healing Diet, it's about inspiring women. And we have to feel good about ourselves. And what happens when we don't, that's when we gain weight. And it goes back and forth. I think we're looking at models. We're looking at the clothes that we might not be able to get in, and just wear the clothes you can wear now and feel good about it, and then work your way, because it's not going to happen overnight. What we see at the Institute, people are happy. Women lose about 3 to 4 pounds a week at the Institute, and that is not working out hard. The ones that are working out hard in our fitness program can lose much more. So they can see that it's not going to be that I lose 30 pounds. Men lose easy 30 pounds in our 21-day program. Women, we lose much slower, but slowly but surely we get there. So I think we need to feel good about how we are, the clothes we wear organic cotton, wear linen, wear hemp, wear beautiful things that you breathe in, that you feel good in, and look at your own journey. Don't look at other people's journey. This is your journey, and this will take you there. We see it with so many women, and sometimes it takes years, like Christine, who lost 130 pounds. She's a new person. It took her 4 years because she also had to heal at the same time. What if you have to heal emotional traumas? What if you have to heal after surgeries? So it's not going to happen overnight. I think we need to realize it takes time. We need to be patient, but we need to nourish ourselves, and we need to move in any which way. massages, acupuncture, chiropractic. Get other people to support you in this journey.
Yeah, about a decade ago, we actually looked at all of the medical paperwork of the 2,500 guests who'd come through our programs that year in West Palm Beach, Florida. And we equated that there were 22,500 pounds lost in Hippocrates. And what's amazing, you can't see it. It evaporates. So I said, well, that would be a giant mountain in the middle of this property if that were there. And so it's really magic when you look at what the body's capable of. And people can get back, like the story I told you, 300-pound loss with Nancy. The Hollywood set, you mentioned Sir Hopkins came to us, and we're the number one diet they use in Hollywood. So the top trainers send them to us. And the reason being is because, in his word, nobody gets muscle quicker than on your diet. When they have a month to get prepared, the ladies and men, for a film, we can do it with yours. Others take 3 to 5 months. So these are the things we know, because when you get back to the original way that we live, the original lifestyle that we all lived, our ancestors lived, we were actually eating fresh and raw food constantly. We were exercising always. We never had to consider, let's go to the gym, let's take a walk. It was just part of the lifestyle. It's only the last 5 generations we're not exercising like that. And if you look back, your aristocracy around the world were the only people with the diseases that all of us have today, because they weren't sitting in front of televisions. They were sitting entertaining themselves with jokers and sages. Yeah, I mean, it's like, so we knew 150 years ago what was going to happen to the rest of us. But as soon as we got a couple of dollars or a couple of pounds in our pocket, we wanted to be like the kings and queens. And look at the end result of that. We are in the worst health that human species has ever been in. You've been lied to that we live longer than we've ever lived. During the pandemic alone, the world's wide Western population lost 1.5 years of life expectancy. In the last 6 years, 7 years, it's dropped 5 years. For the first time in history, 10 years ago, the Center for Disease Control in my country said babies are going to die 5 years sooner than their families. That never happened before. And we now looked at the math. By the year 2050, will be 17 years sooner. Yeah. You have diseases like autism that we're being told that 50% of the babies born in the next few years will be born with some level of autism. You have in this country of England, 375,000 people a year diagnosed with cancer, maybe another 100,000 that have it. And you have 167,000 dying of cancer. These are lifestyle-related problems. They're not magic. They're not magic. You have 25% of who dies in this country dies of a heart attack or stroke, and 97% of that is preventable through diet and lifestyle and weight. And so these are urgent issues. These aren't just personal issues that, yes, you're going to look better, feel better, be here longer, be for your partner, your children, your family. But it's for all of us, for all of the human race to take life serious now and have a little gratitude for what we have.
It's a wonderful message that you're putting out there to our listeners today, and in all your books and also your institute, the Hippocrates Wellness Institute. For anybody that's interested in the book, it's called The Healing Diet. It's by Dr. Brian.
Self-Healing Diet.
The Self-Healing Diet by Dr. Brian Clement and Dr. Anna Maria Clement. It's available on Amazon and in bookshops. Definitely check it out. And for all your listeners today, I really hope you've enjoyed listening as much as I've enjoyed presenting the show.